Part 16. At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid. Author, Len Mian Buletin Leng. Chapter 151. The girl in green was about 17 or 18 years old, with a face like a peach blossom, beautiful and elegant, and a pair of phoenix eyes as clear as spring water. Her skin was as white as jade, her nose was straight and beautiful, her body was exquisite, and she also had a unique charm. She was unforgettable. It was Gu Liyulai, one of Siddhu Dayaquin's disciples. There was a solemn look between her eyebrows, and she was obviously quite afraid of the great Qin dynasty. He. Hearing this, Siddhu Dayaquin sneered. No matter how powerful the great Qin dynasty is, it is just a group of barbarians who have never seen the world. Without the emperor's weapons and the inheritance of the great emperor, it is nothing at all. The three great dynasties in the Tianlan domain have never produced a great emperor, so they can fight each other in dire straits and are inseparable. If any of their dynasties had produced an emperor and had an emperor's weapon, it would not be the situation today. Siddhu Dayaquin said with disdain. But what he said was absolutely right. The three great dynasties of Tianlan domain, Xuanhuan, Kangyu, and Dakin, have never produced a true emperor. This is the reason why the three great dynasties can achieve a tripartite balance in Tianlan domain, mainly because Tianlan domain is too remote, located in the southernmost of the 9 domains, and is often invaded by foreign races. Therefore, those powerful sects and families are basically not interested in this place, and have no time to run so far to compete for the territory here. Gu Liyulai pondered for a long time, without saying anything more, and asked. Master, what is our plan for this trip to Dakin? Siddhu Dayaquin shook his head, his tone calm. No plan. I plan to sneak into the northern border to investigate, and by the way, see the truth of the Qin emperor. I will obey the master's order. The disciples agreed respectfully. Buzz. The next moment, Siddhu Dayaquin drove the building ship through the sky and drove straight forward. A moment later, it disappeared into the depths of the sea of clouds, leaving only a faint ripple spreading out. But, just as they had just left, a sea of clouds suddenly surged, and a young man in white stepped out of the sea of clouds. His eyes were dim, and he swept around the surroundings, and finally fell on the direction where Siddhu Dayaquin and others left. A playful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It really attracted a lot of people. I don't know what it is, I always feel like something is blinded. He murmured to himself, with a gleam in his eyes. Then he moved towards the north. Not only that. Around the border of the Qin dynasty, countless inexplicable prying eyes appeared, some greedy, some surprised, some tempting. In short, all of them were secretly paying attention to the northern border of the Qin dynasty. These people may not be trying to destroy the Qin dynasty, but are just curious about whether the immortal cave is real or fake. After all, no one will miss any opportunity, even if there is a possibility. For a moment, the undercurrent in the northern border of the Great Qin was surging, once again attracting the attention of the world and touching the hearts of countless people. At this time, Qin Mu was sitting cross-legged in the Yeting Palace, his aura soaring, and a huge pressure enveloped the entire palace. On his body, there were endless thunders surrounding him, interweaving into a net. Each of these thunders was as huge as a mountain, surrounding Qin Mu, constantly swimming, as if trying to tear his body apart. But these terrifying thunders could never hurt Qin Mu. They didn't even cut his skin. Rumble. One after another, thunder exploded, like a thunder dragon dancing wildly, shocking. Qin Mu closed his eyes tightly, sitting between the thunders, as if refining the power of the thunder tribulation. His face became more and more rosy, and there were bursts of thunder between his breaths, like thunder rolling in the sky. His strength was progressing rapidly. It was increasing every minute and every second. Finally, with a crisp sound, the thunder on his body completely shattered and turned into arcs of lightning. Huh! Qin Mu slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air and opened his eyes. At this time, there seemed to be a vast ocean of thunder in his eyes. As he opened his eyes, a surge of vast pressure suddenly swept over. In an instant, the entire Yeting palace trembled slightly, and countless palace lanterns swayed and crackled. Qin Mu raised his arms to relax his muscles and blood circulation, and felt that his whole body was full of strength. One punch could smash a small star. Zhandao realm. Feeling the power surging like thunder all over his body, Qin Mu smiled with satisfaction. He didn't expect that Ye Qinglian, who was 1,000 years old, was still the first time. So this time's dual cultivation provided him with a huge and terrifying power, allowing him to cross the Dongxi realm in one fell swoop and reach the Zhandao realm. Qin Mu never thought that cultivation could be so simple. Such speed and efficiency are simply incredible. It's better than the cultivation given by the system. As expected of a saint, he is indeed extraordinary. Qin Mu lowered his head slightly and looked at Ye Qinglian, who was rolling her eyes, motionless, and looking like she had lost all hope in life. Qin Mu's dual cultivation method can choose to benefit both of them or one person. Obviously, Qin Mu chose to benefit one person. Not only did Ye Qinglian not get any benefit, but she was almost ruined. Qin Mu restrained his breath, walked slowly to Ye Qinglian, looked down at her, and smiled. Don't be like this, in fact, you didn't get nothing, at least you gained happiness, didn't you? This sentence finally made Ye Qinglian react a little. Her beautiful eyes widened, staring at Qin Mu, gritting her teeth and saying, Qin Mu, you wait for me. If you dare to touch me again, I will bite you off. Ye Qinglian gnashed her teeth in hatred, wishing to grind Qin Mu to ashes. She never thought that this damn bastard would actually use her as a furnace to take essence. And he only knew how to take, not caring about her feelings at all. If she didn't have the physique of a saint, I'm afraid she would have rolled her eyes and fainted. Qin Mu raised his eyebrows slightly and said jokingly, can you bear it? You worked harder than anyone else in the second half. You. Ye Qinglian became even angrier when she heard this, but she couldn't say a single harsh word. Humph. Ye Qinglian snorted coldly, simply closed her eyes, and began to recuperate. Lu Su, from now on, keep an eye on her all the time, Qin Mu ordered lightly. The saint's methods are strange. Who knows if she has other ways to escape? It is best to let a saint watch her. Yes. Master. Liu Su, who was dressed in a black dress, answered obediently. Qin Mu nodded, and then glanced at the royal women of the Xuanhuan dynasty. When these women saw Qin Mu's eyes, they all shrank their necks, trembled, and dared not look directly at him. Qin Mu smiled faintly, with a saintly look on his face, his eyes were pure and full of righteousness. Then he turned and left. He had more important things to do. At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid. Author, Len Mian Buletin Leng. Chapter 152. Northern Territory. In an originally deserted valley, now it rises from the ground and towers into the sky, forming a mountain peak. And on top of the mountains, the fairy air is misty, the spiritual mist is filled, and there are thousands of auspicious clouds. Many pavilions and pavilions are vaguely visible, just like the blessed land of the fairy family. Streams of bright golden light rise into the sky, as if they are evolving all things in the world, outlining the outline of a fairy cave. A mysterious pressure as vast as the sea spread out from it. This scene caused all the nearby birds and beasts to flee for fear of touching this fairy cave. But they didn't want to get too far away. They all stared at the immortal cave with scarlet eyes, feeling the immortal energy in it eagerly. Although they don't have much intelligence, they can feel the huge power contained in this immortal energy. Biological instinct makes them linger nearby, unwilling to leave for a long time. In addition to these birds and beasts, there were also many northern monks who came after hearing the news. What kind of place is this? It has such a rich aura. You don't even know this, but this is the Xuanhuan cave that has been rumored so much. Huh? It's actually true. I thought it was fake. There must be treasure hidden in the cave. An immortal ruins actually appeared in our northern territory. It's a pity that it appeared too late. Otherwise, we might not lose this battle. Yes, it appeared too late. Otherwise, with the inheritance in Immortal Cave Mansion, we would definitely be able to defeat the Qin. Oh, it's useless to say all this now. The appearance of the Xuanhuan cave at this time is a disaster rather than a blessing for us in the north. That's right, it would be great if His Highness is still here. This opportunity will definitely allow her to greatly improve her strength, so that she will not be persecuted by that faint king. Hey, you should be careful what you say. There are ears everywhere in the north now, and that faint lord might hear what he says. Everyone was talking a lot and their eyes were flashing. They really want to break into the immortal cave and obtain the inheritance of immortal fate, but they are also worried about causing death. Because the northern border is now under the control of the Qin army, their every move is strictly monitored. If they make a mistake, it will be a fate worse than death. Of course, with their strength, they couldn't even get close to the so-called immortal family cave. Just the vast and mysterious pressure that is as vast as the sea is enough to make it difficult for them to move forward, let alone break into the fairy cave. Everyone was still talking about it, but they didn't notice at all that two figures quietly appeared in a corner not far away. Can an immortal cave appear in the north? This is really nonsense. Qin Mu looked at the so-called immortal cave not far away and shook his head with a playful smile. The Qin dynasty has ruled the northern border for nearly 10,000 years, but it has never been heard of the appearance of any Xuanhuan cave, not even the ruins of the great emperor have been discovered. Now it appeared out of nowhere, without any warning, which he couldn't believe at all. Qin Mu glanced sideways slightly, looked at the stunning and silent girl beside him, and asked with a smile. You know the northern territory best. Do you think there will be immortal ruins in the northern territory? The stunning girl was naturally Xuanhuan. She pursed her lips, shook her head, and replied firmly. Return to the master, definitely not. Oh? Why are you so sure? Qin Mu raised his eyebrows and looked at her with interest. Xuanhuan looked at Qin Mu with calm eyes, firm tone, and slowly said. The master should be very aware of the situation in the north. It is barren and desolate, and spiritual energy is very lacking. It is impossible for an immortal cave to appear. And this place is very close to Zhenbei Prince's mansion. Luo Er often passed by here when he led troops on expeditions, but he never found anything unusual. Furthermore, if this is really an immortal site, it must be protected by a powerful protective formation. How can it be so casual? Xuanhuan spoke every word with utmost seriousness. After he finished speaking, he lowered his head obediently, with a low eyebrow and an extremely obedient look. Well, you're right. Qin Mu nodded in agreement. He turned his head, looked at the distant mountain peaks, and said with a faint smile. So, who created this Xuanhuan cave? Is it the handiwork of some people? Or is it a deliberate trap set by others? Do you want to make our country, Great Qin, a target of public criticism? After the last word fell, Qin Mu's eyes became extremely cold, with a formidable cold light. From the beginning, he felt that there was something fishy about this matter. There are very few records of immortals in the entire 9 realms of the human race, and even in the entire 42 realms of the world. The human race has never even had an immortal, and the realm of the great emperor is already the limit that can be reached in the records of the human race. Although every human emperor has worked hard to reach the realm of immortals, I have never heard of anyone succeeding. The realm of immortals has long become a legend in the world. The most recent recorded immortal was the Azure Dragon Emperor, the Azure Dragon Immortal, who amazed a generation and left endless legends 80,000 years ago. Apart from this, no immortals ever appeared again. Therefore, even if there are immortals who leave inheritance and caves, they cannot appear in the north. And it's still in such a sensitive period. Maybe others believed it, but Qin Mu didn't believe that such a good thing would happen to Beijing. But when Zhang Luoshan heard Qin Mu's words, her eyes suddenly flickered. She suddenly raised her head and changed her previous words. Master, Luo'er thought about it carefully just now, and suddenly felt that this Xianjia cave might be real. After a pause, she continued. The Tianlan territory did not belong to the human race a long time ago, but to other races. Perhaps this immortal ruins were left during that period. The reason why there is no powerful formation to protect it may be because it has been too long and the formation has been exhausted in the endless years, so this Xianjia cave was revealed. Before it was revealed, it was naturally very hidden. With the immortal's methods, it is normal for Luo'er to be unable to detect it. Zhang Luoshan made another analysis, and what he said was logical and logical. When Qin Mu heard this, he looked at her meaningfully and smiled. What you said makes sense. Looking at it this way, this immortal cave seems to be real. Thank you for the compliment, Master. Zhang Luoshan nodded and whispered. Those forces should think so too. After all, according to their habits, even if it is fake, they will definitely come and take a look. Qin Mu stroked his chin, nodded and said to himself. Master knows everything. Zhang Luoshan flattered him in an extremely rare way. Qin Mu was stunned for a moment, as if he hadn't thought about it, then shook his head and laughed. I know that on the surface you seem to be submissive, but in fact you are still resentful and are always thinking about how to get out of control. He looked at Zhang Luoshan, smiled softly, and even his eyes were gentle, showing no sign of indifference. But Zhang Luoshan's delicate body trembled slightly, and her calm eyes showed a few ripples. Then he returned to his original state, Zhen's head lowered even further, his black hair hanging down on both sides, covering his pretty face, and he said respectfully, Luo'er doesn't dare. After listening to her words, Qin Mu raised the corners of his mouth slightly, suddenly leaned forward and asked softly. Are you still wearing the crystal necklace I gave you? Zhang Luoshan's delicate body stiffened for a moment, her cheeks instantly turned crimson, and she felt shy and uneasy. Then she calmly said, wear it. Her voice seemed to have no warmth at all, it was cold and mechanical. Do you like it? Qin Mu said with a smile. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid. Author, Len Mian Buletin Leng. Chapter 153. I like it. Zhang Luoshan hesitated for a moment, and finally said these two words. She clenched her fists, bit her red lips with her pearly teeth, and half closed her eyes, covering up the shyness and unwillingness in her eyes. Since you like it, then keep wearing it. Qin Mu smiled and patted Zhang Luoshan's shoulders gently, straightened his waist, turned his head and looked in the direction of the immortal cave, and said leisurely. Let's go, since we are here, we have to go and take a look. After he said that, he took the lead and walked forward. Zhang Luoshan followed behind him, and a dark current passed through her eyes, but it was fleeting. She said meekly, everything is up to the master's orders. Then the two walked towards the towering and misty mountain. The higher they went, the richer the spiritual energy around them became. When they reached the top, they formed groups of white mist, covering the surroundings. Looking around, the vision was blurred, and you couldn't see your fingers when you stretched out your hand. Moreover, there was an extremely strong pressure in the air, making it difficult to breathe. A thin layer of sweat oozed from Zhang Luoshan's forehead, and her pretty face turned slightly pale. She looked around with discomfort. With her strength, being able to walk here was already the limit. If she went any higher, she would not be able to bear it, and would even be crushed by the pressure. And coupled with her physical discomfort, it was even more difficult for her to move forward. Although she had gradually become familiar with it during this period of time, every step was still a torment for her. Zhang Luoshan couldn't help but look up at Qin Mu standing above her, and saw that his figure was as straight as a gun, standing proudly under the sky. Even the surrounding pressure had no effect on him at all, as if he was strolling in the garden. Zhang Luoshan's eyes gradually became hazy. What level has the master's cultivation reached? She couldn't help but murmur in her heart. After this period of contact, she found that this man was completely different from the licentious tyrant and the dandy waste rumored by the world. No, it's not completely different. The master is indeed very lewd, and the world is right about this. Zhang Luoshan didn't know what she was thinking of, her eyes were shining with water, and a shy blush appeared on her pretty face, which was beautiful, like a delicate peony. This look was simply heart-pounding. How many secrets does the master have? Zhang Luoshan was full of confusion and wanted to know more. However, when the pressure around her became heavier, she quickly restrained her thoughts and silently practiced the skills to relieve the discomfort. At this time, Qin Mu walked forward again. Zhang Luoshan didn't care to continue to relieve herself, pursed her red lips, and then silently followed behind Qin Mu. She followed Qin Mu closely, but didn't notice that Qin Mu suddenly stopped, and she bumped into him without paying attention. The touch from the tip of her nose made her body tremble violently, and she quickly took 2 steps back, with a trace of panic in her eyes. "Master, master! What's the matter?" Qin Mu turned around, with a smile on his face, staring at Zhang Luoshan with a half-smile. Zhang Luoshan's breathing became a little faster, she lowered her head and whispered. "Master, the pressure of the immortal cave is too strong, Luoer can't bear it." After the voice was finished, Zhang Luoshan's pretty face was already red, quite embarrassed. Qin Mu shook his head and said jokingly, "Is this not okay? Just now at the foot of the mountain, I heard that those northern cultivators highly respected and confident in you, and believed that you could seize the inheritance of this immortal cave." Hearing this, Zhang Luoshan's delicate body trembled slightly, she suddenly raised her head, stared at Qin Mu in a daze, her eyes a little panicked. She bit her lip and whispered, "Master is right, Luoer is useless." "Regulate your breath," Qin Mu said lightly. "Yes," Zhang Luoshan replied respectfully. She closed her beautiful eyes, sat cross-legged on the spot, and silently operated the attack method. For some reason, she was holding back a force in her heart, and she wanted to prove herself to her master. She was not so useless. After a moment, Zhang Luoshan felt relieved a lot, and her delicate face slowly regained its calm. She exhaled lightly, and then looked up at Qin Mu. Qin Mu's back was majestic, like a towering figure, deeply imprinted in her mind, so that she could only admire and worship him. When this thought came up, Zhang Luoshan was shocked. She quickly shook her head to dispel this idea. "Master, what should we do now?" she asked. Qin Mu stood in the middle of the clouds with his hands behind his back, staring into the distance through the thick clouds. "I saw a majestic and simple palace made of purple gold hanging on the top of the mountain. Faintly, you can hear bursts of melodious piano music coming from it, ethereal like a fairy, and trance like a fairyland palace. On the plaque at the entrance of the cave, there were several mysterious golden characters written in it. They were not clear, but seemed to contain a great secret. It feels like a fairy cave." Qin Mu squinted his eyes and looked at the ancient and vicissitudes of life cave, marveling at it, with an interested look on his face. "Master, do you want to go in?" Zhang Luoshan asked, with a flash of curiosity and eagerness in his eyes. "No," Qin Mu shook his head. "Ah, Zhang Luoshan was slightly surprised, and then asked in surprise, "Master, don't you plan to enter the fairy cave?" She had made preparations, but she never expected that Qin Mu would not go. "No need to look, there is nothing inside." Qin Mu smiled at her and said lightly. "Nothing?" Zhang Luoshan asked blankly. "Nothing now, but after a while, you will have a lot of harvest." Qin Mu suddenly smiled. A mysterious arc was drawn at the corner of his mouth, as if he thought of something interesting. Zhang Luoshan was stunned when he heard Qin Mu's inexplicable words. "You will have a lot of harvest after a while? What does this mean?" Zhang Luoshan blinked, a little confused. "What does the master mean by this?" Qin Mu's mouth had a playful arc, he looked at the distant clouds and mist, and said lightly. "Wait, there will be many treasures in this so-called immortal cave soon." As he said that, he turned and walked out. Zhang Luoshan was stunned for a long time, and she finally came back to her senses and chased after him and said, "Master, what do you mean?" Qin Mu smiled without saying a word, took a step, and took Zhang Luoshan out of this area and walked towards another mountain. Huh! Zhang Luoshan was surprised to find that the route Qin Mu took seemed to have some extremely mysterious rules, as if it was in line with some kind of formation. She frowned slightly, and felt that this formation was a little familiar. It was like a sky full of stars, scattered between heaven and earth, forming an extremely complex pattern. Wait. A sky full of stars? Could it be? Zhang Luoshan's heart twitched fiercely, and her beautiful eyes widened. Warm ti. At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid. Author, Len Mian Buletin Leng. Chapter 154. An extremely tragic memory suddenly hit her mind, her pretty face turned pale, and her delicate body trembled slightly. "Master, master!" Zhang Luoshan's throat was dry, so she shouted cautiously. "How?" Qin Mu stopped and turned around to look at Zhang Luoshan. "No, it's okay." Being stared at by Qin Mu, Zhang Luoshan's pretty face paled even more, her body became stiffer, and she even trembled slightly, with a look of pain and despair deep in her eyes. She clutched her sleeves tightly, her knuckles turning white from excessive exertion. "Then let's go," Qin Mu said calmly, and then continued to walk forward. Zhang Luoshan followed her subconsciously. Her face was pale and bloodless, and she was completely lost. In her mind, that memory that she would never forget came to her mind again. It was a bloody memory. That scene was her biggest nightmare in her life. It was that battle that brought her to the situation she is in today. Outside the immortal cave, the crowd was bustling and noisy. Countless people gathered outside, fearing that they would miss the unique opportunity of this paradise. Powerful men gathered one after another, either in groups of 3 or 5, or in groups of dozens, so densely packed that they almost filled the entire mountain peak. The auras of these monks are all very good, most of them have reached the Zifa realm or above, and some have even reached the Shenzang realm, the Yuanshen realm, which is the level of the sect masters and elders of various forces. None of them were from the northern territory, and they were not even monks from the Tianlan territory, but they were gathered here at this time. It was obvious that they were all heading for the immortal family cave. "I didn't expect that the Emperor of Qin would be willing to open up the northern territory and let us enter. It's really rare," someone commented in a low voice. "What do you know? Although the great Qin royal family has a rich background, they do not dare to provoke various forces. After all, the strength of the sects in the Apocalypse region and the Wind Spirit region, which are closest to the Tianlan region, is there. Which one does not have a saint? That's true. But then again, we've made a lot of money this trip. Haha, it would be nice if we could have some soup." It is said that the sects from the Apocalypse domain and the Wind Spirit domain have sent their saint ancestors here. I guess that there must be a lot of bloodshed in the Xianjia cave, so I'm afraid it won't be that easy to get. Everyone depends on their ability. Anyway, I am bound to win this time. By the way, why haven't those powerful people arrived yet? We wouldn't dare to enter without them opening the way. Yes, the immortal cave is too tempting. If it drags on any longer, I'm afraid even foreign races will come to get a share of the pie. They still have to wake up the saint ancestor, so they should be later than us. That's how it should be. Everyone was talking and waiting patiently. Buzz. At this moment, a vast and boundless coercion suddenly descended, sweeping over like the sky and the earth falling apart. In an instant, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Boom. There was a loud noise, the mountains shook, gravel flew, and dust filled the air. Everyone looked in shock and saw a group of 7 or 8 figures slowly walking through the air. These people were covered in hazy holy light, surrounded by auspiciousness, and each of them exuded an aura of overwhelming pressure and violence. Hiss. After seeing the appearance of these people clearly, many people couldn't help but suck in the air conditioning and took 2 steps back. The leader of the group was a middle-aged man. He was wearing a yellow robe and a gold robe, embroidered with unicorns, and a jade pendant hanging on his waist. He had a domineering and fierce aura. With his hands behind his back, he looked arrogant, looking down at the world and all living beings. Next to him were 6 men in black robes, each of them filled with suffocating, terrifying fluctuations. This is the leader of the Daking dynasty, Li Chengtian. It is said that he reached the pinnacle of Daozhan in just 200 years. Daking has a prosperous national fortune, ranking first in the wind spirit realm. The treasury is sufficient, the resources are rich, and the background is even more terrifying. Someone recognized the identity of this group of people and immediately explained in a low voice. It is indeed worthy of being a sage dynasty. After 200 years of practice, it has reached the peak state of slashing. This speed of practice is simply unbelievable. Some people were secretly stunned. Soon, 2 more groups of people arrived, standing on the left and right. Each of them had extremely powerful auras, and they were clearly saints. At this moment, everyone felt their hearts palpitating. The auras of the 2 groups of saint-level monks intertwined to form a terrifying deterrent force, killing all the ferocious beasts from all directions. For a time, the atmosphere outside Xuanhuan cave became increasingly tense. Whether they were threatened or not, all the nearby ferocious beasts disappeared. They are people from the Ziwei Palace in the Apocalypse domain and the Xiang Palace in the Wind Spirit domain. They are here too. I heard that Ziwei Immortal Palace is here to seek justice for the Qianyuan dynasty. I'm afraid they will have a conflict with Daqin. Really, then there will be a good show. Everyone whispered, their eyes flickered, and there was some expectation. And at this time, there was another powerful wave in the distance. I saw an old woman with white beard and hair and a rickety back stepping down from the air and walking slowly in the void. Her eyes were cloudy and dim, like 2 gray moons, giving people an eerie and cold feeling. Just a glance at him made people's hearts beat wildly, as if they were falling into the abyss of the netherworld, and their whole body was filled with chills. But behind her, there was a group of tall women. They were wearing colorful feathered clothes, graceful figures, crystal clear skin, picturesque eyebrows, and extraordinary temperament, just like fairies. The leader was a hot girl in a red dress, with a scarlet lotus mark on her forehead, wearing a red armor, and looking heroic. They stood in a row behind the old woman, their aura was obscure, but it was frightening. That's a disciple of Yaoguang Holy Land. Everyone exclaimed, looking very excited. At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid. Author, Len Mian Buletin Leng. Chapter 155. The Shaking Light Holy Land is the top holy land in the Apocalypse domain, with extremely rich foundation and ancient inheritance. His disciples are spread throughout the 9 realms and enjoy a great reputation in the Apocalypse realm. Moreover, a female emperor was born in the Yaoguang Holy Land, known as the Yaoguang Empress, who ruled thousands of people and was powerful in the world. Although the Yaoguang Empress is no longer alive, and the Yaoguang Holy Land is no longer at its peak, it is still an immortal holy land. In addition, the Holy Land of Shaking Light is also an ally with the Ziwei Immortal Palace in the Apocalypse domain, sharing what they need and advancing and retreating together. Therefore, the status of the Shaking Light Holy Land in the Apocalypse domain is very important. However, the disciples of Yaoguang Holy Land rarely move outside, but once they show up, it will be a scene that attracts everyone's attention. Just because the Holy Land of Shaking Light only recruits female disciples, and each one of them is beautiful, extremely talented, outstanding, and unfathomable in strength. Every move they make attracts the attention of hundreds of millions of monks in the Apocalypse domain. The group of women in front of them are the most outstanding disciples of Yaoguang Holy Land, which naturally makes people's blood boil. Especially the Holy Maiden of Fluctuating Light, who is even more magnificent and charming. I saw her wearing a red dress, with a graceful figure, skin as good as snow, and a fragrant body, as elegant and refined as an immortal. The most eye-catching thing is her bright eyes, as bright as stars, shining with a hint of charm. Just one glance can captivate the soul. The lotus mark on the forehead is also particularly conspicuous, giving people a sense of enchantment. She is the fluttering light saint? So beautiful, many people praised her. This is the Holy Lady of Fluctuating Light. She is indeed very beautiful. She can be called a peerless beauty. Tisk, tisk, it's not in vain that I made the strip. Luo Yaxi, the Holy Lady of Shaking Light, is here. Some people exclaimed, their eyes falling on the woman for a long time and unable to take them away. Many people's eyes are straight and their minds are full of wild thoughts. Even many young talents are ready to make a move. Quickly close your eyes and don't look at who is in front of Saint Yaoguang. An old man shook his head and smiled bitterly, reminding everyone not to look around. That old woman was not someone to be trifled with. She was the great elder of the Holy Land of Light. Aha! Suddenly, the old woman raised her head and looked forward, with a pair of deep eyes that seemed to be able to penetrate everything. Everyone's bodies suddenly stiffened and their hearts beat wildly. The people who were still a little restless instantly calmed down and became as silent as a cicada, not daring to act any more recklessly. After all, the other party is a saint and they cannot afford to offend him. The old woman leading the charge was none other than the Supreme Saint King of the Yaoguang Holy Land. After the Yaoguang Saint, there are many elders of the Yaoguang Holy Land. These elders are all extraordinary monks in the saint realm. Compared to everyone, the saints from the Ziwei Immortal Palace, Xiang Palace, Daking Dynasty, and other powerful forces were much calmer. They all had indifferent expressions, with a sense of superiority, and did not show any surprise at the appearance of the Shaking Light Holy Land. However, one person showed a strange look. Huh? The Shaking Light Holy Land has finally arrived. I saw Li Chengtian, the emperor of the Daking dynasty, squinting his eyes slightly and revealing his sparkle. His eyes lingered on Sunshine Saint Chen Yaxi for a moment, with a trace of hot greed flashing in his eyes. Fluttering Light Saint. One of the most dazzling pearls in the entire Apocalypse domain. Not only that, he also knows some secret things that ordinary people don't know. The physique of this Shaking Light Saint is an exquisite body, and possessing the exquisite sacred heart can help people break through their shackles and reach higher levels. There are even rumors that this kind of physique can forge the foundation of the great emperor, and it is his destiny. Once it is obtained by someone, it will leap over the dragon gate, obtain infinite blessings, and become a true peerless genius. He had long coveted it. However, he proposed marriage many times, but was rejected by the Shaking Light Holy Land. Saint Fluttering Light, I must marry you, Li Chengtian licked his lips and murmured in a low voice, his eyes flashing with blazing light. Of course, he did not act rashly. After all, the situation at this moment was a bit mysterious. It was a grand event for all the major forces to gather here. At this moment, there was another loud noise in the distant sky. Boom! This time it was a monstrous evil spirit that swept across the entire sky. Immediately afterwards, a silver flying boat came across, 100 feet in size, suspended in the void, blooming with dazzling brilliance. Beside it were followed dozens of iron ropes, each of which was extremely thick and exuded a fierce killing power, filled with a chilling aura. "Hi, it's the flying boat of the Baidu section," someone exclaimed, recognizing the identity of the silver flying boat. The Baidu sect is quite famous in Tiankai domain, and its leader is a semi-saint level being. That's right, the chain on the flying boat is the Baidu sect's magic tool for suppressing the teaching, the demon-slaying lock. Someone nodded and said with a solemn expression. The demon-slaying lock is said to be a great sage-level magic weapon, refined by the ancestors of the Baidu sect. I didn't expect that the Baidu sect would also come. Could it be that the 7 sons of the Baidu have also arrived? Everyone speculated one after another, with solemn looks in their eyes. This airship has an extraordinary atmosphere, and the surrounding air of killing fills the sky, as if it has broken out of the sea of blood from the mountain of corpses, which is frightening. The monks on the silver flying boat were all men in black robes, with cold faces, evil aura lingering all over their bodies, and they were extremely aggressive. They stepped on flying swords, and their bodies were filled with a strong aura of death, as if they had come from the underworld. It's the 7 Baidu sons. I didn't expect them all to come. Some people gasped and looked in awe. The 7 sons of the Big Dipper, the core strength of the Baidu sect, are all saints. Everyone in the surrounding area was shocked. Ha ha ha, the 7 sons of the Big Dipper came quite quickly in Xiwei Immortal Palace. A burly old man stood up and looked up to the sky laughing. His aura was powerful, and his whole body was shrouded in lavender divine light, exuding terrifying fluctuations, like a wild beast, like an abyss like the sea, giving people a sense of oppression, as if it could crush the sky. Behind it, there is a simple divine sword inserted in the void, breathing out terrifying sharp energy. That is the 9 Heavens divine sword. I heard that it has given birth to a sword spirit, and it is a true saint's divine weapon. Seeing the divine sword, everyone was horrified and their eyes showed shock. This is a genuine saint with monstrous strength. Moreover, he is also a famous figure in the history of Xiwei Immortal Palace, and his swordsmanship is earth-shattering. The leader of the 7 Baidu sons looked at the burly old man, then smiled slightly, with a slightly sarcastic tone. "Brother Nangong, has your injury recovered?" "Hee, thanks to you guys, I'm almost recovered." Nangong Lai grinned, with a ferocious look in his eyes, and he obviously had some hatred for the 7 Baidu sons. The two went head to head, refusing to admit defeat and mocking each other, attracting the attention of many people around them. The atmosphere immediately became tense. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid. Author, Len Mian Buletin Leng. Chapter 156. It seems that there is still an old feud between the Baidu sect and Xiwei Immortal Palace. Now it's going to be fun. Hey, these two families have been feuding for a long time, and everyone in Tiankai territory knows it. Is it so serious? Could it be that the two families are already fighting before the Immortal Cave is opened? That just leaves 2 strong competitors, hee. Don't worry, you can't fight. Do you think all saints are fools? They can't understand the truth that you and I can understand. That's right. If you want to fight, you must wait until the Immortal Cave Palace is opened before fighting. No matter what, today is destined to be exciting. The monks in the four fields whispered. Sure enough. Although Nangang Lai and the seven Baidu sons were at war with each other, they both knew that now was not the time to take action. They were very restrained and did not take action at the slightest disagreement. However, although no battle broke out, there was an undercurrent and a storm was about to arise. Soon, several more teams arrived quietly. Unknowingly, countless powerful people have gathered in the Northern Territory, all coming from the Wind Spirit Territory and the Tiankai Territory, because these two territories are closest to the Tianlan Territory. There are many top forces and holy places among them, and even many saints and powerful men of the older generation who would never be seen at all appear here. It can be described as a gathering of talents. Various powerful auras intertwine together, causing the Northern Territory to fall into silence. All living creatures were silent and did not dare to take a breath. And somewhere in the north, where the secrets of heaven are obscured, a woman in red clothes stood in the void, looking calmly at the so-called Xianjia cave in the distance. Behind her, a hale and hearty old man with snow-white eyebrows, fair hair, and a childlike face, and crystal-clear skin sat cross-legged on the cloud bed, his eyes closed. Your Majesty, although I have deceived the secrets here, if a battle breaks out later and affects this place, our whereabouts may be exposed. The old man slowly opened his eyes, looked at the woman in red, and said, "Well, it doesn't matter, I will show up later." The woman in red nodded slightly. She has a graceful figure, snow-white skin, exquisite facial features, black eyebrows, and starry eyes, just like a person in a painting. A fiery red dress outlines her hot and voluptuous curves, her waist is as slender as a willow branch, and her smooth and jade-like calves are looming under the skirt, making people unable to help but wonder. But that beautiful face was covered with frost, and her expression was as calm as a deep pool, making it difficult for people to see through her thoughts. Especially those eyes, which are deep and vast, seeming to contain a big world. This woman in red dress is naturally Xuanhuan from Kangyu dynasty. Then Qin Mu should be nearby at this time, but I can't figure it out. He opened the northern defense line so readily. Could it be that he really compromised? Xuanhuan murmured, her brows furrowed with a hint of doubt. She always felt like something was wrong. Based on her understanding of Qin Mu during this period, Qin Mu does not seem to be someone willing to give in. After all, this is too humiliating for the king of a country. I think this is the wisest choice. After all, there are so many powerful forces, and with the strength of Great Qin, it is impossible to resist them. The old man said softly, his voice hoarse and low. Xuanhuan was silent for a moment and said softly, "Perhaps I overestimated De Qin's background, but fortunately the goal has been achieved. De Qin should have no time to care about Kangyu now. And Ziwei Immortal Palace has a dispute with Great Qin, and other forces are also like this. As long as they know that Chang'an city of Great Qin has a peerless formation to kill saints, they will definitely become greedy. By then, the entire Qin dynasty will be in complete chaos, and there will be no escape from this unparalleled catastrophe." Speaking of this, Xuanhuan's eyes bloomed with a deep and cold light. The Xianjia cave is a fake. It was transformed into a colorful sky-repairing stone that she got by chance in the early years. The colorful sky-repairing stone is a treasure from heaven and earth. It contains infinite magical functions. It is extremely rare and precious. It can evolve all living things. It is also known as the most rare stone in all worlds. It is said that it can mend the sky and is a priceless treasure. This time, she had been planning for a long time, and she did not hesitate to use a 7-color sky-repairing stone to lure all the major forces here. The target was Chang'an city of Great Qin. Although the Xianjia cave mansion is fake, the peerless formations in Chang'an city are real. No force would be tempted by a formation that could kill a saint. And even if some forces are not tempted, those saints will still feel jealous and afraid. After all, this is a formation that can threaten their lives. In this era when the emperor does not appear and saints are invincible, saints are the top combat power. Except for Xuanhuan and beings of the same level, almost no one can hurt them. But now there is such a formation that can easily kill them, which is definitely enough to make them feel worried and panicked. After all, no one knows when this formation will fall on him. By then, all the saints will inevitably swarm in, besiege Daqin, and force it to come up with formations. By then, even if Daqin has thousands of strategies, it can only choose to carry it out. As a result, the major forces naturally have little interest in exploring the immortal family cave. Just wait for Chang'an to be destroyed. At that time, Great Qin was in danger. She believed that all the major forces would join forces to destroy Daqin and carve up this piece of fat. Your Majesty's judgment, I admire it. If Qin Mu knows better, that's all. If he really dares to resist stubbornly, he will suffer the disaster of destroying the country. It's unimaginable. Hearing Xuanhuan's words, a hint of awe flashed in the old man's eyes, and he cupped his hands. Even he had to admire His Majesty's strategy. If Qin Mu handed over the formation, then although Daqin would not be besieged, it would lose a major killer weapon, and the Kangyu dynasty would naturally lose a major threat. If Qin Mu chose not to hand over the formation, the result would of course be even more beneficial to the Kangyu dynasty. Therefore, regardless of whether Qin Mu surrenders the formation or not, the outcome will not be easy. In this way, the Kangyu dynasty could weaken the strength of the Qin dynasty without any effort. Just don't be too perfect. Tianjia glanced at Xuanhuan and couldn't help but sigh again. Who in the world is worthy of wearing red clothes, but I, Empress Kangyu, am the only one. Xuanhuan smiled lightly when she heard this and didn't say much. She just raised her eyes to the northeast with an unpredictable smile on her lips. That is the direction of Chang'an City. She believed that Qin Mu could not sit still and wait for death. However, she was not worried. No matter what Qin Mu did, he would eventually become opposed to these forces. Of course, Qin Mu still has another way to go, which is to be willing to become a vassal of these forces and seek asylum. But based on what she knew about Qin Mu, this path was absolutely impossible. Although Xuanhuan had never met Qin Mu, she even knew about him through folk rumors. But she just had this hunch. Extremely intense. At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid. Author, Len Mian Buletin Leng. Chapter 157. Qin Mu, the newly rising leader of the Great Qin, is an unruly man who would rather break than bend. Moreover, he is also an extremely vengeful person. Qin Mu will definitely refuse. He will never yield to anyone, and he will never become a vassal of a certain force and be willing to be driven. For some reason, Xuanhuan has this confidence in him inexplicably. That's why she has some doubts and doesn't understand why Qin Mu let go of the northern defense line so readily. In Xuanhuan's heart, Qin Mu has long been regarded as the most powerful opponent in her life. I hope you won't let me down. After all, this time, it also concerns the future of my Kangyu dynasty. Xuanhuan sighed, she turned around, and stepped into the air. This incident involved too much, and she was also taking a risky move. If she was not careful, she would be doomed. Although the news that the Qin dynasty possessed a peerless formation would sooner or later be known to the forces of other domains, it was too slow, and the Kangyu dynasty could not wait that long. The Xuanhuan dynasty had been liquidated, and the next one was the Kangyu dynasty. She had to finish this matter before the Qin dynasty attacked the Kangyu dynasty, otherwise the Qin army would come and everything would be over. She had made up her mind to destroy the Qin Chang'an city at any cost. While the two were talking, the forces outside the Xuanjia cave mansion could no longer hold back. Everyone, We are gathered here, presumably for this Xianjia cave mansion. Since the Qin dynasty has given this Xianjia cave mansion to us, we naturally cannot live up to the hospitality of the Qin royal family. Should we explore the Xianjia cave mansion first? At this time, a middle-aged man with a refined temperament and elegant demeanor stepped out slowly and said lightly. He was Situ Daequan, the palace master of Xiang Palace in Fengling Domain. As soon as this was said, others nodded in agreement. Yes, in that case, let's go into the cave together and explore it to see what secrets are hidden in this immortal cave. Okay, everyone, please follow me and enter this immortal cave together. With our joint efforts, the treasures in the immortal cave will surely belong to us. Other sect leaders stood up and spoke. As soon as this was said, countless cultivators nodded in agreement, looking determined to win. However, some people also put forward other opinions. Whether this immortal cave is real or fake is unknown for the time being, so why not send a few people to explore it first, as Saint said lightly. We are all here, but the Lord of the Great Qin has not arrived yet. I wonder why. Does he not care about this immortal cave? Yes, it is better to be cautious. That's right. None of the three great dynasties of Tianlan domain are here. They are not without saints. How could they miss this great opportunity? The saints are now expressing different opinions. They have lived for so many years and have long developed a conservative and cautious character. Even though the immortal cave is within reach, it is still as stable as a mountain and not in a hurry at all. Hearing this, the faces of the cultivators who advocated going in just now changed slightly, and then looked at each other. Their expressions became solemn. Yes, so many major forces gathered together, but none of the three great dynasties of Tianlan domain showed up. This is a bit strange. In theory, they are the closest and should be the first to arrive. How come we haven't seen them until now? At this time, Nangong Lai of Xiwei Fairy Palace snorted coldly, with a hint of anger in his tone. It's okay if you don't mention this, but I get angry when you mention this. The Qianyuan dynasty was destroyed by the Qin dynasty long ago. The entire imperial city was reduced to ruins, and all the people were devastated. It was extremely cruel. If I see the tyrant of the Qin dynasty, I will definitely take his head. His face was gloomy, his eyes flashed with cold light, and his body exuded cold murderous intent and anger. After he finished speaking, a girl behind him couldn't help crying out loud, and was very sad. This girl was none other than Ye Jinghong, the princess of the Qianyuan dynasty. And the people around were in an uproar. What? The Qianyuan dynasty was destroyed? When did it happen? The Qianyuan dynasty had several saints. How could it be destroyed? The Qianyuan dynasty was the third largest force in Tianlan territory, only inferior to the Kangyu dynasty. How could it be destroyed just like that? Many cultivators couldn't help but stare with wide eyes, showing shock. You know, the Qianyuan dynasty is one of the three major dynasties in Tianlan territory, with a very deep foundation. Even if it is not as good as the Kangyu and Dakin dynasties, it is probably not much different. How could it be destroyed so easily? Nangong Lai's face became even gloomier. I haven't had time to investigate this matter yet. When this matter is over, I will definitely investigate it thoroughly and let the Dakin dynasty get the price it deserves. As soon as these words came out, everyone suddenly showed a look of realization. No wonder the people of the Great Qin dynasty still haven't shown up. I'm afraid that the Great Qin Emperor is also afraid and dares not show up. Although I don't know how the Great Qin destroyed Qianyuan, I think it must have paid a great price. Now I'm afraid it is recuperating and recovering its strength. That should be the case. After all, the strength of the Qianyuan dynasty cannot be underestimated. How can the Great Qin destroy it so easily? Haha, that's good, so that we don't have to spend our energy dealing with this Great Qin. Someone sneered. And these words happened to hit Nangong Lai's heart, and he thought so too. In fact, he only showed such anger on the surface, but in his heart he felt that the destruction of the Qianyuan dynasty was very valuable. Having consumed the strength of the Great Qin dynasty, Great Qin was no longer qualified to compete with them for the treasures in the immortal family cave. It was simply a worthy death. But for the sake of superficial face and the Taoist heart of his disciple, after he gets the treasures, he still has to go to Chang'an City. If the Qin really consumes a lot of money, then he will destroy it. If the Qin still has strong strength, then he will take advantage of the situation and blackmail it. Nangong Lai was thinking in his mind, and then said coldly, "Humph, no matter what, the people from the Qin didn't come after all. We will go in here first. If there is a treasure, it belongs to us. Yes, this great Qin is self-aware and does not dare to compete with us for this immortal family cave. In this case, let's enter the Xianjia cave first. The treasures in this Xianjia cave definitely belong to us." For a moment, the heroes were excited and couldn't wait. And just when they were about to take a step, buzz! Suddenly a brilliant ray of light tore through the clouds and came straight towards the side. This ray of light was extremely fast and came close in the blink of an eye. After the glow dissipated, a huge chariot was revealed, stretching across the sky like a divine mountain. The carriage is gorgeous, with carved railings and jade inlays, and the whole body is made of gold. It is dazzling, flowing with auspicious colors, and beautiful. 8 bright pearls hang from the 4 corners, shining brightly on the 9 heavens and 10 earth. What's even more surprising is that a giant golden dragon is engraved on the chariot. The dragon's head is high and lifelike, as if it wants to fly in the sky. On the 4 sides of the frame, there are 4 golden armored heavenly soldiers guarding them, with overwhelming arrogance. Then a faint voice resounded throughout the world. "Who said I didn't arrive? At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid." Author, Len Mian Buletin Leng. Chapter 158. The indifferent voice came from the gilded dragon chariot, which made everyone present stunned. Huh? Who is so arrogant? Whose dragon chariot is this? It is so luxurious and magnificent, so majestic and domineering. Could it be someone from the royal family? It should be. He also calls himself I. He should be the emperor of a certain dynasty. Could it be the lord of the Great Qin? Now there is a show to watch. The Ziwei Fairy Palace just said that they would deal with the Great Qin emperor. Everyone whispered and raised their heads, looking at the gilded dragon chariot, and then looked at Nangong Lai, as if they were ready to watch a good show. Nangong Lai turned around suddenly when he heard the words. "Who is coming? Come out and see." Nangong Lai shouted fiercely, his eyes were like lightning, and his eyebrows were full of murderous aura. The whole person seemed to have turned into a sharp sword, with a sharp edge, and a powerful aura blooming all over his body, overwhelming the heavens. Rumble! The sky trembled, and the wind and clouds surged. Even the heads of other major sects could not help but stop, frowned, and looked over here. "You old immortal thing, you are still so arrogant in my territory, you don't know any courtesy, integrity, and shame, are you living like a dog at your age?" At this time, a cold and extremely sarcastic voice came from the dragon chariot, with undisguised sarcasm. Boom! In an instant, the world suddenly stopped. Everyone was stunned, and their eyes were wide open. Especially Nangong Lai, he clenched his fists so tightly that blood almost dripped, and the veins on his forehead were throbbing, which looked particularly hideous. He never thought that someone would dare to insult him in public. And it was a junior. He was a saint, high above, when had he ever suffered such humiliation? "You are looking for death." Nangong Lai's face flushed and he roared. His eyes were red, like a burning flame, blazing. A chilling murderous intent burst out from his body, sweeping across the sky. It was heart-pounding and horrifying. Endless killing intent filled the void, and the vast mana surged like a tide, covering the sky and the earth. Hiss. Feeling the vast mana fluctuations and the sharp murderous intent, everyone in the four directions took a breath of cold air. So strong. Everyone was shocked. However, the voice in the dragon chariot did not fluctuate at all, and it was still as calm as usual. Okay, stop pretending. If you wanted to take action, you would have taken action long ago. Why are you barking here? Boom. After the words fell, everyone took a breath of cold air again, looking at the dragon chariot in horror. Isn't this too arrogant? I saw a tall figure stepping into the air from the gilded dragon chariot. He was dressed in a dark yellow dragon robe, handsome, with black hair draped over his shoulders, majestic and handsome. He looked like a banished immortal descending to the world, attracting the attention of countless monks. Especially his pair of dark and deep eyes seemed like the abyss, captivating and daunting. He stood in the void, with his hands behind his back, as if he was above thousands of living beings, making people look up. His appearance immediately caused a commotion, and even Nangong Lai's eyelids twitched, looking a little unbelievable. It seems that the Emperor of the Great Qin is here in person. I didn't expect him to dare to come. I don't know whether to say he is stupid or he has the courage to wade into this muddy water. He, so what, wealth and honor are sought in danger, how can you become the son of destiny without taking some risks? Tisk tisk, this is lively. Everyone watched the scene intently, afraid of missing any details. At this time, as Qin Mu stepped out of the dragon chariot, a woman followed behind him. She had a beautiful face and a graceful figure. Her clothes were spotless and crystal clear, like snowflakes. Under the refraction of the sun, she emitted a soft light, like a fairy who did not eat fireworks. Although they were far apart, they still gave people a feeling of stunning the world. Her appearance and temperament were not inferior to that of the Saint Yaoguang. In some aspects, she was even better. Hiss. What a beautiful woman. Is this a princess of the royal family? It seems not. She looks more like a maid. No way, such a beautiful woman is just a maid. This Emperor Qin is so lucky. Many monks around were amazed, and many male monks had fiery eyes and shortness of breath. Shen Yaoxi, the saint of Yaoguang, couldn't help but look at him a few times. Even she had to admit that she had no advantage in front of this woman. At this time, Nangong Lai's face was extremely gloomy and his eyes were cold. Are you the lord of the Great Qin? Nangong Lai stared at Li Mu with a cold tone and murderous intent. He was so angry at this moment. He wanted to suppress the so-called Emperor of the Great Qin directly, but the timing was not right. He had to save his strength to avoid accidents or emergencies when exploring the secret realm of immortals later. Qin Mu glanced at him lightly and ignored him, but looked around. I heard that all the major forces gathered in the northern border, and as the lord of the Great Qin, I should entertain you and do my best to be a good host. After you find the treasures in this immortal cave, you must not leave. I will hold a banquet in the palace tonight. Please come to the feast. I hope you will not refuse. Qin Mu bowed slightly, his attitude was humble and polite, but with an unquestionable taste, as if he had made a decision for everyone. Ha ha ha. Nangong Lai suddenly laughed up to the sky, the sound shook the four fields, extremely terrifying, shaking the sky. You dare to be so arrogant, you destroyed the Qianyuan dynasty and killed innocent people, and I haven't asked you for it. Be sensible, wait for me to explore this immortal secret realm, kneel down and kowtow to confess your guilt. Otherwise, we will unite and destroy your entire Qin, leaving you dead without a burial place. Nangong Lai's face was full of murderous intent and hatred, and he said word by word. The murderous intent in his eyes was so fierce that it seemed to burst out at any time. Hearing this, Qin Mu couldn't help but roll his eyes slightly. This old fox, with just a few words, pushed the Qin Empire to the opposite side of all forces. This abacus is really snapping. As Nangong Li's voice fell, Ye Jinghong behind him couldn't help but speak out. Qin Mu, you killed my father and my mother, this hatred must be avenged. She gritted her teeth, her pretty face was frosty, and tears of anger and sadness flashed in her beautiful eyes. When she thought of the massacre of the Xuanhuan imperial city, no one survived, and corpses were everywhere, like a purgatory on earth. Her heart ached. Pain, too much pain. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid. Author, Len Mi and Bulletin Leng. Chapter 159. Qin Mu didn't react at all to Ye Jinghong's words. He just glanced at her slowly, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised in a sarcastic smile. Who said your mother is dead? Your mother is staying well in my palace, and your 7th and 9th sisters slept soundly last night. Qin Mu spoke calmly, with a hint of amusement in his eyes. Upon hearing his words, Ye Jinghong's pupils shrank suddenly, and his expression changed instantly. She raised her head suddenly and stared at Qin Mu with disbelief, and huge waves arose in her heart. What did you say? The queen is still alive. Ye Jinghong's delicate body trembled violently, her eyes were red, and she was inexplicably excited. Her favorite 7th and 9th sisters are still alive. What? Don't you want to? Qin Mu continued with a faint smile on his lips. I have sent a special person to take care of your mother, and take the elixir every day to nourish your body. After all, after giving birth to a child, you need to keep up with the maintenance, otherwise the skin will become not firm enough. The corners of Qin Mu's mouth curved and he spoke softly. Presumptuous. As soon as Qin Mu finished speaking, Ye Jinghong suddenly became furious. Her pretty face was livid, and her delicate jade face was covered with frost. The wisps of evil spirit lingered, making people frightened and afraid to look directly. Qin Mu, I'm going to kill you. You. What did you do to my mother and my 9th sister? Her beautiful eyes were bloodshot as she stared at Qin Mu with overwhelming hatred. As soon as these words came out, the whole place was in an uproar. It turned out that the Lord of Qin was so insane that he imprisoned all the queens and princesses of the Xuanhuan dynasty. It is truly a heinous crime. For a moment, everyone accused Qin Mu angrily. Of course, only they themselves know how envious they are in their hearts. Qin Mu still stood there, with a calm expression and a bright smile, and said warmly, Don't be so irritable. How could a gentleman like me do something worse than a beast? Besides, even if I really did something, they were the ones who betrayed your dead father, so they have nothing to do with me, right? You. Hearing Qin Mu's words, Ye Jinghong's pretty face turned red, his whole body was shaking with anger, and he almost vomited blood. Qin Mu's words were simply shameless. Qin Mu, don't make excuses. As the lord of the Qin dynasty, you actually refuse to let go of your female relatives. Such behavior is worse than a beast. Tonight, you must hand over the queen mother, 9th sister, and the others, otherwise. Ye Jinghong gritted his silver teeth and spoke coldly. Haha, not only do we have to surrender, but we also need to compensate for the losses. Nangong Li also spoke, looking around in all directions, and shouted loudly. Oh! I wonder how you want me to compensate you. Qin Mu raised his eyebrows and asked with interest. Seeing Qin Mu agree, Nangong Li's eyes suddenly lit up. If he could use this incident of Xuanhuan's destruction to extort money from the Qin, then even if he didn't gain anything from the Xianjia cave, he still wouldn't be considered empty-handed. When the other forces heard this, their thoughts were also surging, and their eyes flickered. Nangong Lai snorted coldly, with a look of pride in his eyes. This matter will be discussed later. Let's enter the Xianjia cave first. After saying this, he waved his sleeves and led the people around him to step forward, preparing to break into the Xianjia cave. Everyone around has already gathered and is ready to go and find out, etc. But at this moment, Qin Mu suddenly spoke. An evil smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he said jokingly, "Don't worry, everyone, the protagonist behind the scene has not arrived yet." Everyone was stunned when they heard this. The main character behind the scenes. Is there anyone else who hasn't come? Everyone was confused and turned to look at Qin Mu. "Qin Mu, what do you mean?" Nangong Lai turned his head and frowned, saying in a deep voice. Qin Mu smiled and said nothing, just looking at the void in the distance indifferently. "Xuanhuan, do you still want to continue watching the show? If you don't come out, you won't be able to explain it for a while," Qin Mu suddenly said. After hearing Qin Mu's words, Nangong Lai and others' expressions suddenly changed. They all turned their heads and looked towards the distant sky. Under everyone's gaze, the void there twisted and a group of figures appeared. The leader is a stunningly beautiful woman. She wore a fiery red dress, showing off her graceful figure. The delicate and charming facial features exude a sense of coquettishness and sexiness. Especially her phoenix eyes contain infinite majesty and domineering power. It's like a born emperor came to the world. She stood quietly like this, but it was like a bright star blooming, taking away thousands of graces. Every move revealed strong oppression. At this time, the woman was also looking at Qin Mu, and their eyes collided. The moment the two people's eyes touched, the entire space seemed to freeze, falling into an eerie silence. Countless monks around also widened their eyes. Just because the woman in front of her is so beautiful that she can conquer a country and bring disaster to the world. Especially her noble temperament fascinated everyone. Is this Empress Can Yu wearing a red dress? She is so beautiful. Everyone was stunned and shocked. The woman in red in front of them gave them another feeling of beauty. With the blessing of this kind of beauty, they only felt that Ji Hongii was even more beautiful than the Saint Yaoguang. "Saint Yaoguang, is it over yet? Why do you always have to compare with me? I'm so annoyed." At this time, Saint Yaoguang Shen Yaoxi, who was also wearing a red dress, couldn't help but look down at herself, her eyebrows slightly frowned. It's not terrible to wear the same clothes, whoever is ugly will be embarrassed. Although she is also a peerless beauty, she is obviously less mature and stable than Ji Hongii. And her smaller figure further highlights Ji Hongii's plump and graceful figure. Shen Yaoxi's eyes showed a trace of embarrassment, and she was a little uncomfortable to stand, and even wanted to change clothes before coming over. She thought that her red dress was beautiful enough, but compared with Ji Hongii, it was still a little inferior. Shen Yaoxi bit her cherry lips secretly, and felt that it was not suitable to go out today. How come the women who appeared were more beautiful than her? It's really annoying. After a long time, Xie Hongii sighed, took a slow step, and walked out of the void. At this moment, Xie Hongii's pretty face was cold, and there was a hint of worry in the depths of her eyes. She looked at Qin Mu with mixed feelings. When she saw Qin Mu's eyes, her inner uneasiness had been magnified to the extreme. She thought Qin Mu didn't dare to show up, and at most he would observe secretly nearby. But she didn't expect that Qin Mu not only showed up, but also acted very high profile, and didn't take Nangong Lai of Ziwei Fairy Palace seriously at all. Xie Hongii had a strong premonition. She would lose to Qin Mu again, and lose to Dakin. At the beginning, I gave the future empress her death. I became stronger because I was stupid. Author, Len Mian Buletin Leng. Chapter 160. This premonition was completely unprovoked and came on a whim, but it was extremely strong. Even though there are dozens of saints gathered here, there are countless saint soldiers, quasi-emperor soldiers, and even emperor soldiers hidden. But it still couldn't bring her a sense of security. Her heart was beating hard and her mind was swaying, making her restless. And all of this stems from the man in front of him. This man is like a devil. Give her a feeling of extreme danger. This was a feeling that Xuanhuan had never felt before. She thought she was familiar enough with Qin Mu, but now she found that she was still completely elusive about this man. Xuanhuan, no wonder Qin Wuji has become crazy about you since he saw you. You are indeed a peerless beauty. Qin Mu admired it carefully, as if he was looking at a perfect work of art. Under Qin Mu's gaze, Xuanhuan's body suddenly froze, as if he was in an ice cellar. She actually understood a lot of information from Qin Mu's eyes. For example, Qin Mu is very satisfied with her. What does this mean? What does he want to do? Xuanhuan's heart trembled, and she was immediately alert to the extreme. The spiritual energy in her body was boiling, and she was ready for battle. Don't be so nervous, I won't eat you. Qin Mu seemed to understand Hong Yi's precautions and smiled slightly. Haha, His Majesty Ken Yu is here. We didn't go far to greet you. It would be rude of me. At this time, Li Chengtian of the Daking dynasty suddenly spoke, with a warm smile on his face and a loud laugh. The moment he saw Xuanhuan, he suddenly felt that the fluttering light saint had become ordinary. On the contrary, the woman in red is more attractive. Only such a peerless beauty can be worthy of him, Li Chengtian, right? To put it simply, he, Li Chengtian, has fallen in love with the Kenyu Empress in front of him again. Hearing this, Ji Hongyi glanced at him and frowned slightly. If Qin Mu's gaze made her feel scared, then this guy's gaze made her feel extremely disgusted and disgusted. Xuanhuan hummed in an extremely cold voice, then withdrew her gaze and stopped looking at him. Forehead. Li Chengtian looked slightly stunned. He was suffocated immediately, the smile on his face stiffened, his eyelids twitched, and he almost cursed, but luckily he endured it. He reluctantly twitched the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, Your Majesty Ken Yu, there may be some dangers in the exploration trip later. How about our two dynasties forming an alliance with each other and advancing and retreating together? Li Chengtian's voice echoed throughout the audience, immediately arousing everyone's interest. Exploring the secret realm requires teamwork. Now that the two parties are joining forces, it is indeed an excellent choice. However, Xuanhuan was not interested at all. This is just a fake fairy cave. It's a waste of time to explore. Ji Hongyi ignored Li Chengtian's request for an alliance, but looked at the people around her, took a deep breath, and prepared to say what she had been preparing for a long time. Everyone, the immortal cave is actually. However, just as Ji Hongyi was mid-sentence, there was a loud rumble in the distance. A huge momentum rose into the sky, reaching the top of the clouds. In an instant, the originally clear sky suddenly became gloomy. Thunder surged in the sky, dark clouds gathered, and lightning flashed, as if the end was coming. This scene made countless monks look up in horror. I saw a thunder piercing the void, splitting the entire void into a dark crack. Immediately, a giant with brilliant golden light and a body that looked like it was made of gold came galloping from the dark crack. The golden giant's body was golden, and the ground would crack and shatter with every step he took, and endless sand and stones would shoot out. It was tall and tall, with its hands on its back, and its whole body was filled with blazing golden light. Like a god. Hiss. These are barbarians. Why are they here too? Many people in the crowd gasped. Is he the holy lord of the barbarians? Nangong Li's pupils shrank, and he looked at the golden giant with fear in his eyes. Not only are there barbarians, there are also people over there. Everyone shouted in horror. On the other side of the crack in the void, Dark demonic energy lingered, covering everything, like a vast abyss. And in the depths of the dark demonic aura, an extremely ferocious figure slowly emerged, making people fearful. He stepped on a scarlet blood moon, his long hair was disheveled, and his whole body was surrounded by extremely rich evil aura and murderous intent. Beside him, there were 3 beasts crawling, all exuding overwhelming pressure. Every ferocious beast possesses the strength of a saint. This made everyone feel numb and shocked. That's someone from the demon realm. Everyone exclaimed as they saw figures flying out of the cracks, all emitting a monstrous aura. A suppressed and violent murderous energy enveloped the entire void. These are all exotic creatures. Each one is extremely tyrannical, and their strength is unimaginable. How is this possible? So many exotic creatures appear here. Everyone's scalp was numb. This is the 9 realms of the human race, and these alien creatures should not appear here. When Xuanhuan saw this scene, she couldn't help but clench her hands slightly, and her palms were slightly sweaty. She didn't expect that this time even foreign creatures would be attracted. When Tianjaizi, who had been standing by and looking calm, saw this scene, his heart also jumped. He quickly pinched his fingers with both hands and began to deduce. But the more he deduced, the more sweat on his forehead, and his face gradually turned pale. Suddenly, Tianjaizi shuddered all over, swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and glanced at Qinmu with fear, and felt that his hair stood on end. "Oh my goodness, it's so scary, so scary," Tianjaizi murmured, his body trembling constantly, and his legs began to tremble. However, due to his deliberate concealment, not many people noticed him. Tianjaizi looked at Ji Hongii on the side, his mind moved slightly, and he quickly transmitted several messages. Ji Hongii's eyes condensed slightly, and his eyes flickered. At this time, the existence with rolling demonic energy made a low and hoarse voice, which made people shudder. The immortal cave is a gift from the immortals, and everyone can get it. We came here this time only to explore the immortal cave. After the exploration, we will leave immediately and have no intention of staying for a long time. The monks looked at each other and saw the solemnity in each other's eyes. The saints' minds collided, and they communicated a lot in a very short time. Finally, Sidu Daequan of Xiang Palace stood up, with a warning in his eyes and a threatening tone. "Since this is the case, then each of you will rely on your ability, and the capable will take the place. However, I warn you not to play any tricks, otherwise you will be attacked by everyone." The existence in the demonic energy laughed a few times, and said in a low voice, "It should be so." The rest of the alien creatures did not speak, and obviously also expressed their acquiescence. Xuanhuan listened to their conversation and breathed a sigh of relief. As long as there is no fight now. Otherwise, if the situation gets out of control, it will be a big trouble. Everyone, Xuanhuan cleared his throat and shouted again. When everyone's eyes were all focused on her, Xuanhuan opened her red lips slightly, and was about to speak. But the next moment, I saw that the originally peaceful and serene immortal cave suddenly burst into dazzling golden light, covering all directions. The golden light was dazzling, reflecting the surrounding void into pure golden color. Then, a strange wave rippled, and circles of ripples spread, instantly covering the area of 10,000 feet in radius. Everyone felt a stinging pain in their eyes and a severe pain in their heads, and they couldn't open their eyes at all. But soon everything returned to calm. I saw that the gate of the immortal cave on the top of the mountain was wide open, and it looked defenseless, and even the pressure disappeared. The immortal cave is about to open. Everyone was ecstatic, and their eyes were extremely hot. Then they rushed forward. This is the cave left by the immortal, containing the immortal's treasures, and no one wants to miss this opportunity. Xuanhuan. What the hell? How did it really open? Yao Guang Saint Chen Yaoxi. Today is the day when only Yao Guang Saint was injured.